Hey guys and gals, it's me George, the Shade Tree Fix-It Man, and I'm here in my woodworking shop, and we could call it What a Mess Woodworking Shop because that's exactly what it is. It's a huge mess down in here. I was painting a sign, and I've been doing some other carpentry work for my side job, and I gotta clean it up now. Look at all the stuff on the floor, sawdust. Of course, sawdust, that's a resource for the model railroad, believe it or not. Yeah, some of my materials are made out of sawdust. Anyway, that's not what this is about. This is about a request by WallysPlace66. His name is Ron, and you could call him Wally. And he was building some bookshelves. You can check out his channel. And he was using cleats under his shelves to hold his shelves in, and I said, well, there's a much better way that makes it a more solid unit and will be much stronger in the long run, but you have to use a router. So he said, well, show me. He said, I want to get a router. And so I said, yeah, I'll make you a video. So what we have here are two pieces of laminated wood, and these actually I think are MDF core. That's medium density fiber MDF with oak laminate over the top of it, and that's similar to what he's been using. And we're gonna, you can see this joint here in the middle. We're gonna assume that these are the two sides of the bookcase, and we want to put our bookshelves in. Well, of course, the first thing you would do is, if you're building a bookshelf, is you would determine how far apart your bookshelves are going to be, and you would plot them out. And always remember that when you're figuring your spaces between shelves, you have to take into account the thickness of your shelf. So if you want a 10-inch shelf, you can't just lay them out 10 inches on center, because then they'll only end up being 9 3/8 or less. So anyway, I plotted out to put this shelf right dead in the middle of this, or at 6 inches anyway. And so this will be cutting across here. So when this is eventually done, they will line up perfectly, and this shelf will go into a rabbet like that. And I have already plotted it out, and you can see I have it clamped together, holding the pieces together this way, and I have a cleat down on here. Now my groove is going to be up here, but my router, we will be using this double fluted bit that will cut the slot. And it's the same width across here as the thickness of our shelf. This is a 3/4 inch bit, and I'm going to set the depth so it goes down. These boards are 3/4 of an inch thick. I'm going to set it so it'll go down in about 1/4 of an inch, and that means when I cut my shelves to length, I will cut them 1/2 an inch longer than the inside dimensions of the shelf. That way, when the shelves get put in, the 1/4 of an inch here and 1/4 of an inch there will equal the 1/2 an inch of extra length on the shelf itself. Got that? Okay. Now, this fluted bit, because routers are not always perfectly concentric, I have a mark here on my router. See that arrow? And I have it painted in red, so that I always know to measure to that one spot from the edge here to my edge here. And on this particular router with this bit in it, that ends up to be 2.5 inches. So I have already laid out on my pieces of wood here, I have already figured out from where I want my shelf to be 2.5 inches back here. Now all I have to do now is, well, I guess I need to plug in my router, but the first thing I need to do is I need to set my depth on my router. And to do that on this particular one, this is an oldie but a goodie. I'm going to put my tape measure down here, and I'm going to rotate this back until I get 1/4 of an inch to the bottom of this flute here. I just want 1/4 of an inch. And that should be about it, right about there. And then I will tighten up my frame like that. And now I need a cord and get this plugged in, and we'll go to town. Looking down on your router from the top, your router is turning clockwise, and you can always tell that by looking at the flutes. And so this will be turning this way. That's counterclockwise as I look at it from the bottom, but from the top it's clockwise. And you always want to cut into the wood, not cut with it, because if I started over here, that router bit would grab and yank it right across here and come out here. As long as you're going against the way it cuts, it'll keep it tight against your fence. So we're all clamped on. These clamps to hold it together, these clamps here to hold my cleat on, my guide, and I have my arrow here pointed against my guide, and let's go for it. And did you see the mistake I made? I just told you that I had to cut against it, and I went with it. And that's why I ended up getting this little flute in there. But, all things being equal, if this shelving unit is exactly 3/4, which it should be, it fits right in there snug. So, take this off, and say you've got 3 or 4 shelves. You could get them all routed across, and then you unclamp it all. Clamps are necessary to keep things side by side. And then we'll take this, and this piece that we're fitting in as our shelf bracket is not exactly the same width as these, but this will give you the idea of what you're looking for. And if this shelf was made to be exactly the same thickness or width as my side standards, then this would come out flush. And yeah, so this shelf can never go anywhere. The only thing you have to do to attach it, you can just clamp it and glue it, or what I like to do, as well as gluing and clamping, I like to use a couple of small brad finish nails, and depending on how wide it is, I might put 3 in. And if you use just like a number 4 penny finish nail, they leave a very small hole and a little bit of wood filler in there, and you'll never see them after they're all done. So there's a quickie how-to on it, Wally. I hope this will be helpful to you, and it'll give you a much more solid bookcase. Hope it helps. Thanks for watching. Bye now.